Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first live stream here on Cyber Queen. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, please hit that subscribe button, add your questions in the comment. This is going to be our very first live stream here. We've recently hit 4,000 subscribers on the channel, and basically we are long overdue with this live stream, and we're long overdue with this chat and discussion and with answering a lot of your burning questions around cybersecurity careers, jobs, and just life in cybersecurity as a professional. So I would love to know where you are all joining from. Let me know in the live chat. I'm checking the chat as we are talking. And then please remember, this is the first time we're actually going live. So let's see how this goes. Let's see what the experience is, and let's see if it's enjoyable for everyone. I will start with doing some updates. Recently, I have attended a cybersecurity conference, and there are so many insights from this conference that I want to share with you all. It was my first time attending kind of this conference in Europe, so that was pretty interesting. It was a very different and unique experience. And then, of course, over on Instagram, I have asked a lot of my community to share some of their questions in advance in order to prepare for this live. So I do have a lot of questions, and I'll first try to actually start answering the questions that I have a little bit later on from Instagram. And then thereafter, I will continue with the questions that we sort of get in the chat in here. But yeah, um, super interesting. Hello from Thailand and from Pretoria. Hey. Um, yeah. So let's actually ah another one from South Africa. Welcome. Welcome. Yeah, I think that at least for the moment I'm having slightly better weather than you, which is which is nice. It is summer in Denmark at the moment, so that's kind of cool. And then from Dallas, Texas, very cool. USA. Okay, welcome everyone. So good to have you all on this live today. Okay, so first up, let's talk actually a little bit about this tech conference that I went to in the past week. I went over to Amsterdam, and I was there for a couple of days attending the World Series Women in Tech conference. It's actually one of the biggest conference in Europe for specifically for women, and there were over 5,000 females in attendance. Now, of course, I've vlogged most of what happened there. I was also a speaker at the conference. I spoke on securing your hybrid and multi-cloud infrastructure, and it was an amazing experience. But I have a video coming out where I vlogged the whole experience. So I will, of course, share a lot of the details in there. But some of the things I really wanted to recap on here while we're chatting today is that something that really stood out to me was still the low visibility and low coverage that we have on cybersecurity topics, specifically in these massive global conferences. I mean, this was really one of the biggest conferences that I've ever attended, and the discussions around cybersecurity it's very well known that this is a very high priority topic and a very high priority discussion. But in all honesty, around the context of the content covered during the conference, it really shows the kind of gap that we still have with cybersecurity in technology. We're starting to talk a lot more about data and AI and machine learning and a lot of these different advanced concepts. However, cybersecurity still seems to be a very difficult concept to grasp and a very difficult topic to cover in these conferences. And even with, I was also fortunate enough to participate in some of the career mentoring and guiding sessions at the conference, where I spoke with multiple amazing ladies around their careers and their ambitions in tech. And one of the key things that I also noted was that the questions really are around there's a gap in knowledge of how to transition from kind of like a general tech role or more software engineering type roles and product management type roles into cybersecurity. And so with that, it really inspired me and motivated me even more to start these live sessions so that we can get the conversation going, so that we can address the burning topics, and so that we can really understand what it takes amongst us as a community to build further, to share knowledge further, and to kind of grow the skill and really do what we can in our capacity to lower the gap when it comes to cybersecurity in the industry. And that's really one thing that stood out to me at the conference. Further to that, it was an amazing experience. It was really good to see how many tech companies, like, I mean, Uber, Amazon, Google, companies like Just Eat, Schneider, Booking.com, all of their tech offices are actually headquartered out of Amsterdam for the European sector, which is quite interesting. So a lot of you do ask me on Instagram kind of where would be a good space to move to in Europe and how to go about it when you're trying to move abroad. And I mean, Amsterdam would probably be a very good consideration in that regard, considering that most of the major tech headquarters are located in Amsterdam. Okay, so that is the update on the conference. And then further to that, I am going to update a lot more in the dedicated vlog that's coming up for the conference. Now, I'm going to start actually moving into some of the questions that you all have asked on Instagram. Now, I received a lot of questions on Instagram, probably over 70 odd questions on Instagram. So I won't be able to answer them all in this one live session. But what I have done is I've extracted some of the common themes for these questions, and then I will be answering some of the common themes. A lot of it is around my background and kind of how I entered the space of cybersecurity, and then some more around the beginning stages of cybersecurity and how to get into the industry from an analysis perspective or a SOC perspective, some of it around cybersecurity studying, and then some of it more specifically around the certifications and the roles in cybersecurity. So with that, let's get into the first question actually for today. So the first question comes from one of my Instagram followers, and they were asking whether I had a tech background before studying cybersecurity and any tips for beginners. Now, before I started studying before I started into cybersecurity, really, I actually studied a degree program. It was a 3-year in one program in information technology, and I specialized in networking. So I really enjoyed the technical components of how things connect together, how computers work, how we are able to connect to the internet. And at that stage, it was still kind of very much figuring out how a dial-up system works and connects to the internet, and then you are able to browse this wonderful thing called the internet. So for that purpose, I think the answer here is that I was always inclined to go into a space technically, but I did actually start my career as a remote support engineer, or not necessarily remote support, but field support. Field support is the right word. So my first job was actually to drive a small car to clients' homes and go and fix their computers and fix their networks. And then it evolved to installing some networking infrastructure and firewalls, etc. So it very much started out in technical support, you can say kind of desktop support, field support, and then evolving into networking, and then thereafter moving into the cybersecurity space. Now, the cybersecurity space for me pretty much started as a firewall engineer, and from that perspective, I was able to move into cybersecurity. So what's now covered under the banner of cybersecurity, yes, networking and network security is also covered under that banner, but that's pretty much technically where it started for me. Now, the tips for beginners here, I would say, the first step for a beginner is really to figure out what you want to do in cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is a very big and broad term, and there are multiple domains that fall under the banner of the cybersecurity construct, really. And what you want to think of is some of the core concepts and some of the core skills that you want to focus on. So, do you want to be hands-on technical in cybersecurity? Then you might want to explore the more technical roles. Do you want to code? Then maybe a pen testing kind of role is more for you, or forensic investigator or incident responder that requires a little bit more programming and scripting and understanding of coding analysis and coding files, similar to a malware analyst. That's also a very good role. If you do not want to code at all, then you have to go into a completely different trajectory there. And there are really a whole host of options. So, I mean, there's the entire information security world, governance, risk, and compliance. There is also security awareness. There is technical writing. So there's a lot to consider. But one of the first things is really to focus on researching the industry first and finding out what it is that you're interested in. Because if you're able to narrow down slightly what it is that you're interested in, then the journey for you might become significantly easier to navigate your start and your entry point into cybersecurity. The second thing is that I would really caution against spending a whole lot of money up front while you're still trying to figure out. It's very easy to go for the construct of spending thousands on a boot camp because it's a structured program or something like that. But the reality is, out of that boot camp, you might still not know what it is that you want to do in cybersecurity, and that really is not the best way of pursuing this. So I'm not against boot camps, but I'm just cautioning that spending a whole lot of money up front is not necessarily the perfect start to your cybersecurity career, but rather starting with researching the industry, then checking some of the low cost or free courses that are available, and then thereafter kind of finding your feet and finding your way into the industry might be a better option for you in that regard. Okay, so that I'll stop that there for question one, but feel free to add any follow-up questions into the comments. And also remember to like this video so that it can reach more people. And if you have more questions, put them in the comments or DM them to me on Instagram, or you can email me if you are part of my cybersecurity bestie community. And to join any of my communities, the links are down below in the description. Now, the next question that I will bring up here is asking for tips on how to stay motivated during studying, especially when things don't make sense. Now, this question was so close to home for me, especially on the component or on the end of the line there on things that don't make sense, because often for the first few months of starting to learn the concepts in tech and in cybersecurity, a lot of things don't make sense. But how I really stay motivated when studying, firstly, is by acknowledging the small steps of growth and the small gains that I make throughout my study process. So to give you a real contextual example here is that when I had to move from a cybersecurity analyst and SOC, a kind of threat intelligence type role, into cloud security, cloud really, like, it was a foreign concept to me. It really didn't make sense, and I really couldn't figure out how to apply my knowledge from the one world into the other. But basically, making sure that you understand the core concepts here is really important. So if you are pursuing some of the entry-level certifications like Security Plus or the Google Cybersecurity certification, which is a great one, by the way, offered on Coursera, or you're just doing free training on Cyberary, really make sure that you double down on the core concepts of cybersecurity and understanding these core concepts, because those concepts and gaining the knowledge of those concepts are what's really going to keep you going when you don't understand the further and more advanced things. If you understand the basics, you're able to interpret how cybersecurity works and how things fit together. So, to give you an example, a core concept in security is networking and understanding how the internet works. Another core concept is understanding operating systems and how those work together. And if you're able to understand that, then it doesn't really matter where that system is or what connects to what, because you understand the basics and core concepts. And then when you understand that, be kind to yourself and give yourself time and allow yourself time to learn the more advanced topics and concepts, because then you're just adding little bits of knowledge as you go, which is ultimately going to help you. And also, if you think that you don't understand these concepts, then maybe it's time to move to a step to start practicing your skills. Now, we often start with learning a lot of the theoretical knowledge about cybersecurity, which is great, but where you really demonstrate whether you understand this is by actually practicing. And there are a lot of platforms to practice your skills, and I will chat about this at a later question. But basically, going onto these platforms and actually doing some exercises and playing some of those games and doing some of the hands-on work really demonstrates to you that you might be understanding more than what you're giving yourself credit for. So really, that is, think of it as just going through the motions, going through the process, being kind to yourself, and then practicing as you go. And that's what's really going to keep you motivated, because as soon as you see in practice, you can actually apply the knowledge. That's what really gives you kind of the mindset and the motivation to keep going. Okay, next question. Let's take this one around the CISSP. Now, I received a lot of questions around the CISSP, so I'll answer them all in this one question, basically. But the question is, can one do the CISSP exam without the required work experience? The other question that I had was more around how much the CISSP actually impacted my career, so I'll answer that all together. Now, you can absolutely take the CISSP exam without the knowledge. However, you will not be certified and a recognized CISSP. You will get the ISS squared associate credential until you have experience in 2 or more of the 8 domains specified by ISS squared. So you need 5 years of experience in at least 2 or more of the domains. If you have any other beginner level certifications, or if you have a degree, or if you have Security Plus, you can take 1 year off of that, basically. But you do need the experience, otherwise you won't be accredited. And as for how much it changed my career, I mean, it completely changed my career. It's firstly, it was one of the hardest certifications that I did to date, still today. It's just a really, really comprehensive certification. And once I was actually certified and accredited, and I put that out to my network and I put it out on LinkedIn, it significantly changed the trajectory of my career. I think you're just, from an employer perspective, it just places you into a completely different league, because to actually have the knowledge to gain your CISSP certification and pass the exam is massive. So it really was a significant game changer for me as a whole for my career. Okay, next question. We're going to go to this one around what jobs can I apply for after completing the Coursera professional cybersecurity certification. Now, here I'm assuming you're referring to the Google certification on Coursera for the cybersecurity, or I'm not sure which certification this is specifically, but basically, there are a few certifications on Coursera today that's actually very good, right? One of them I've made a video about, which is comparing the Google Cybersecurity certification with the Security Plus. And actually, I do share my full thoughts in that video, so go and check it out after this if you're interested. But basically, the jobs that you can apply for with these certification programs is actually like the cybersecurity analyst or even information security analyst roles. There is a slight distinction and differentiation there. SOC analyst, junior consultant or junior security engineer, threat hunter, or even vulnerability analyst roles. So anything I think related to more of the blue team kind of world, which is the security operations world, you can most likely apply for these jobs. But also remember, it's not only pertaining to the certification, or your skills should be more than just the certification, or you should have started building a network along with doing the certification. What does this mean? So when you're doing the Google certification on Coursera today, it's a really fantastic, well-rounded and comprehensive certification. And they also actually go through, in the final modules and courses of that certification, they go through how to actually apply for jobs, which jobs to apply for, and how to actually construct your resume and how to network. But in essence, in order to get a job, it really takes more than just being certified. It takes the ability for you to firstly demonstrate your skills. It depends where you're coming from. Are you pivoting from another career field into cybersecurity? And what kind of skills can you bring with you? What knowledge do you have that you are bringing with you? And then finally, one of the things is network, network, network. If you are able to create a profile on LinkedIn and you're able to actually blog your learnings and share posts and follow fellow cybersecurity creators and join cybersecurity communities on LinkedIn and make yourself more visible, then recruiters have a better chance of finding you, and potential employers have a better chance of reviewing your profile because you're actually an active member and contributor to the cybersecurity community. And getting network-based recommendations is by far the most successful way to get the first entry-level job into cybersecurity. If today, I think, and it's actually a kind of unpopular fact, but it really is that the entry-level jobs are becoming more and more saturated from an application perspective. And here I start with my unpopular opinions, so bear with me here. But when an employer advertises a entry-level job, firstly, we have to understand that a lot of these jobs are not actually applicable to entry-level skills, right? They're usually asking for way more than what's required from an entry-level professional, which is an industry thing in itself that that should be rectified. And I think we're making strides, we're getting there. But secondly, I think that you must understand that if you are applying for entry-level jobs, there are thousands of others that's applying for that same entry-level job, especially if it's a well-written entry-level job. And so you really need to be able to do something to allow yourself to stand out from the rest of the applicants. And how you do this is through your profile, through how your resume is constructed, through how you are able to reach out to recruiters on platforms like LinkedIn. This really allows you to stand out of the crowd. Now, I have written an entire guide to help you along if you are a beginner in cybersecurity and looking to how do I even write my resume and how do I even apply for a job. And if you join my community down below, then you'll most likely get access to the guide and you can check it out and you can use it and see if it's beneficial to you. Okay, next question. Let's go to this one here where the question is, where do I get hands-on experience after completing certifications? Okay, so This again depends on what certifications you have completed and which domain you're pursuing in cybersecurity. There are a few platforms that I do recommend for this. They include TryHackMe, Firstly, most recommended platform, very, very beginner friendly for blue team, red team, uh, just very beginner friendly. So you can check that out. Something that you can actually go and check out that is completely free. I have never paid for any training on this platform. It is Cyberary. So on there, you can actually, I don't know how much hands-on training they have, but they really have skill-specific focused training there. If you're looking to get into the cloud space, then definitely check out a cloud guru or go on the cloud provider websites itself. So if you're a cloud provider of choice is Microsoft, they have the Microsoft Learn path. You can get a free Azure account and you can start practicing while going through the Microsoft Learn exercises. You can start practicing those skills. Then also Hack the Box, Range Force, Blue Team Labs, fantastic from a SOC perspective. So there are a few platforms. I think I have shared them all in a video around how to get started as a cybersecurity analyst. So definitely do go and check that out on the channel where I list all of these platforms for you to choose from. Okay, then next question. All right, let's go to this one. How can you find a mentor in cybersecurity? Okay, this is so important and such a great question. So thank you for this question. Finding a mentor in cybersecurity these days can be really difficult, or it can be as easy as going onto LinkedIn and identifying some of the cybersecurity professionals there, joining some of the groups and following some of them and asking someone to be your mentor, right? But there is a platform, it's called Cyber Mentor Dojo. You can go on there and I think that it is a free platform and they actually try and link professionals up with mentors. So you can definitely check that out. But also on my website, I have a blog post on LinkedIn groups to join. And in those LinkedIn groups, you might be able to get indirect mentorship. So it might not be one-to-one mentoring with another professional in the industry, but you might be able to get access to asking questions to multiple professionals in that group, and they can then answer your questions from there. But so far, the most successful platform to get a good security mentor, I would say, is Cyber Mentor Dojo. Okay, and then another question here around what SOC analyst skills do I need to learn to get an entry level role? Okay, so from a SOC analyst perspective, here you really want to focus on two things, which is soft skills and then the technical skills. The technical skills can include skills like networking, um, understanding operating systems. It's so important to understand operating systems. It's so important to even understand kind of the base levels of the hardware, like how this can be compromised. Essentially, as a SOC analyst, which is a cybersecurity operations center analyst, your job is to analyze threats. Once you've gotten an alert that something suspicious might be happening, your job is really to analyze this and to prevent it from basically going further and affecting other assets. So you must identify these anomalies. And so therefore you must understand how things work, understand how networks work, understand the operating system. Some scripting can be really beneficial to you in this regard because if you understand how to run scripts across the assets in order to check for kind of any indicators of compromise or anything like that, that will be really helpful to you. Then from a soft skills perspective, definitely analytical skills, problem-solving skills. So often you get a problem that you don't even know that it is a problem. So you really have to start with firstly identifying that it's a problem and then starting to figure out by yourself, even as the most junior person, how do I go about solving this problem? And then communication. So effective communication is really important. When it comes to cybersecurity, and especially a SOC, I mean, cybersecurity incidents are really common for you to face in a SOC, and it can be a really stressful environment, especially if you're working in a large corporation and you're the primary person responding to these incidents. It can be a real big issue. So you really need to know how to communicate upwards. Firstly, stakeholder management, communicate messages that might be technical to non-technical stakeholders. And then you also need to know how to communicate with the user base, because sometimes you need to tell a user that you are taking their computer offline because it might be compromised. And you need to know how to manage that expectation when they are telling you that they need to work and they need to meet business deadlines. So that is the beauty of the job. But definitely those are the skills. And again, I'm going to refer you to a video on the channel on the top 4 skills for a security analyst that will give you much more information about that topic. Okay, so I think for now, that's where I'm going to pause with the Instagram questions. And then I'm going to move to some of the questions that we got here in the live stream. So the first one here is around, is from Thea. So she's asking for any tips for a student in IT for cybersecurity and what the benefits is of pertaining the Google IT cert. Now, firstly, there are really a lot of benefits to pertaining the Google IT cert, because it again teaches you the fundamentals of hardware and software and desktop support, and understanding the underlying layers of the operating systems, which is really good. That Google IT cert also teaches you kind of support and stakeholder management, which is really good. On this one, if you want to move into cybersecurity and you want to go on a more technical trajectory, I would actually recommend looking into a few domains like cloud. Cloud computing would be a really good next step for you here, and really starting with selecting a cloud provider of choice and then doing the certifications for that provider from specifically focused in the security track for that, or moving on Coursera to the Google Cybersecurity certification. Now, this is going to give you a great step leading from the Google IT cert into the cybersecurity cert. And what's really great about this Google Cybersecurity cert is that they start from zero. So even with anyone knowing nothing at all about cybersecurity, this Google cert will give you a really good foundation and will get you interested in the multiple areas that there is that you could possibly explore in cybersecurity. Okay, so the next question here that I'm gonna go to is around from Rafi, and it's around is there a difference between a cybersecurity bootcamp versus a college degree? Yes, there is a big difference, I would say. The Flatiron School bootcamp or any cybersecurity bootcamp really, they're mainly structured in a similar way. You can think of a bootcamp as a 6-month or 1-year program usually that tries to cram in as much knowledge into you in the shortest amount of time, so that you are able to finish your education in a shorter amount of time. A degree, however, will be more focused on some of the theoretical knowledge, but you must also remember there is the whole HR thing around having a degree versus a bootcamp is just not accredited at the same level as having a degree. Having said that, here comes the unpopular opinion time again. Even though you select to do the bootcamp or you choose to have a college degree, both of those are great, each to their own. It depends on your learning style and how much money you want to invest, how much time you want to invest, and all of that. But with having both of those options, you still need to make sure that independently you're actually able to build some skills. So if you are doing a degree program, and there's a lot of students at the moment ask me this question around they're doing their master's degree program, but they're not really finding their feet. They don't understand the concepts and they don't have any hands-on practice. Would they be able to get a job? And unfortunately, as it is today, if you don't have the skills and the knowledge to do the job, then the degree program is not really going to help you. And the same with the bootcamp. So these are good to get. I'm not against getting a degree. I'm not against doing a bootcamp. These are good to get. Remember that with whichever one you choose, make sure that you are also building skills in parallel to that, so that by the end of the program, you're actually able to have the knowledge to do the job and you're able to demonstrate that knowledge. So this can even be that you're using platforms like Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, and building up your hacker ranks in those leagues. And it's not only hacking, there's training for Blue Team as well. There's a lot of different training, and you can then use that to actually build the skills in parallel to that. Okay, I just want to see how much time we have left. I think I'm gonna probably do 5 more minutes on the live. This has gone really long. I hope it's been valuable so far for everyone. If it has been valuable, remember to give that thumbs up and let me know in the comments if it's been valuable. Okay, I'm gonna go to the next question here. And hello, I'm interested in threat intelligence, finishing up the Google Cybersecurity certification. Next is Security Plus, then MITRE ATT&CK. Yeah, I mean, I think you're on a really good trajectory. The MITRE ATT&CK framework is a really, really good framework. I would say from a tips perspective here, if you have obtained, once you've obtained the Security Plus, after, focus on gaining skills. So focus on doing hands-on practice. Yes, do further certifications. Make sure that the next certifications that you do are no longer at a beginner level, but they're actually at an intermediate level, and they advance you, so they don't keep you at the same level. We don't necessarily want multiple beginner level certifications, but we want kind of the beginner, and it's the trajectory that you're on with Google and Security Plus is very good for that base level. And then you actually want to do a more intermediate type certification thereafter, which is fine if you're going for the MITRE ATT&CK, and then practicing your skills. Practicing your skills is very, very critical here in your case. And make sure that you also have kind of the idea of where you want to land. So before you take up the more intermediate level of certification or education that you want to do, make sure you know where you want to land. So do you want to land into kind of a vendor-based threat intelligence practice? Do you want to land in what is the organization that you want to land into, and check out their requirements for threat intelligence, and then you equip yourself in that way. But threat intelligence, absolutely fantastic domain to be in. Okay. I think when I'm looking through the questions here in the chat, we're probably having, so there are a lot more questions around the let me just bring up the okay, so there are a lot more questions around the Coursera training programs, which I think we've already answered. And there is also a lot more questions around beginners and how do we get started here, which is fine. We've already answered. Let's look at some of the other questions that we can have. Okay, let's go with this one. So I work in IT, but I want to enter cybersecurity, and we're doing the cybersecurity cert, Nexus Security Plus. Is it enough to land an entry level job? Okay, this is actually a question that I get really, really often, and it it depends on the experience that you have already, because you saying that you are already working in IT, which means that you already have IT experience, so you already likely have some sort of technical experience, and that's fine. And then you're doing the Google certification and Security Plus. So I would actually think differently about this. So instead of thinking how if the certifications are enough to land an entry level job, I would actually think what skills you have right now that you can utilize to pivot into a cybersecurity role and what role that should be. So, yes, adding these two certifications to your profile is great, but you already have working experience and you already work in IT, which means that you don't have to start from an entry level job. You can likely pivot into a SOC role, you can pivot into a cloud role, you can pivot into a security engineering role. You don't have to start from basics. You can identify your transition skills, so skills that will help you in a cybersecurity job, and then you can reconstruct your resume and your profile to be more applicable to your ambition and your aim to work in cybersecurity. And again, in this case, if you do have the ability to move or even to shadow others within an organization that you're already working that's in cybersecurity, this would be first prize. You can get that kind of experience even while you're still working in your existing role and build up a network inside. Or you can already start building up your profile online and connect with other cybersecurity professionals and share your IT and security knowledge to help you along with making those transitions. So, and this is actually one thing to note, is that you don't have to start from zero in cybersecurity all the time. If you are working in another industry or you're working in another role, you can actually pivot into cybersecurity by using some of the skills you already have, and those are transition skills. Okay, let's go to the next question. And I think I'm going to end this live with a more personal um, question here. Um, do I miss South Africa? And then some interesting comments at the end. I absolutely miss South Africa. South Africa is a beautiful country and a beautiful place. And I really do miss South Africa, but I must say my experience so far in Denmark and in Europe has been absolutely great. All right. All right, friends. I think that that is it. I'm going to end the live stream there. If you enjoyed this live stream, let me know in the comments and let me know what other suggestions you have. If you want to see another live stream anytime soon in the future, definitely let me know. If you haven't subscribed, join everything, click everything down below, join me on all platforms, and let's build this community together in cybersecurity. But that is it for now, friends, and I will catch you next time. Bye.